Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. My name's Anastasia Pacella with the Cordial Eye, and I'm here with Barbara Ayala Rugg Deal. And Barbara was another one of the artists who participated in our Residency Enjoy this summer. How are you, Barbara?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So, Barbara is a multidisciplinary artist. She's an activist, and she came into this residency with about no less than 100 million ideas and actually executed most of them quite successfully. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about your practice and then we'll jump into the images?
Yeah, definitely. Overall, I'm a mixed media artist, and my visual art career started only about 2 years ago, but I kind of bring in a lot of my other fields of expertise into what I like to do for the content and also process. So I studied sustainable international development, which covered kind of environmental practices, but also a lot of social activism and building communities. So I kind of thought that went well with this project and the residency as a whole. So kind of brought that into my thought process, and like I said, a lot of research and just a bunch of ideas that I tried to bounce off you and narrow down for the project.
Okay, it looks like we're having a little bit of internet issues, and that's my problem. So hopefully it stays on, and if not, I don't know. We're just
No problem.
gonna hope to the internet gods that this all stays connected. Um, I want to share people images of your work, so let's jump into that, and then we'll talk more about it. Okay. Share screen, present. Okay, so in your project, kind of like overall, one of the themes that you were working with was, at least, I don't know if it continued this way, but I know it had started with this idea of wanting to create a restorative experience for other activists, because right when we were working, it was the start of the pandemic. There was a huge surge in Black Lives Matters protests. Environmental justice is, always ongoing, and you were worried about activism burnout. So I thought that this video was just a super sweet way to start. Can we hear the sound?
I can't. I'm not sure.
Oh no. That's depressing and a chronic issue of Zoom, isn't it?
Mm,
Okay.
that's true.
And it's not letting me get to the slide. Well,
Oh, I think I heard some of it.
let's try it again. I think you heard my family cooking dinner, actually. But it's
I feel like reminiscent of chimes. That makes sense.
Yeah. So there's these beautiful wind chimes, and the sound, it's like tinkly, like ding, 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 ding sounds, if you can't imagine wind chimes. And then there's also, there was this full-on senses. So the wind chimes are like calling in sound, right? Mm-hmm. There's this beautiful painting for visuals, tactile, touch, scent.
Yeah, that does have scent. Yep.
Is this taste?
I didn't do taste. Okay. That is also scent, and they all kind of built upon each other, but they focused on the different senses, but they also kind of, here's the colors as well. But yeah, it also has scent.
Right. And that was one of the things that I was so struck by, is that despite when I heard you talking about all your different ideas, I was like, how is she going to pull this all together? And the color palette is just so beautiful and joyous, right? So why don't I go through it a little more slowly so that you can tell us about it at your own speed?
Yeah, definitely. So I did go in kind of thinking about what, and I know a lot of the other artists kind of went in like, what is joy? And so I kind of immediately thought of it as, first of all, it's something that we're not always encouraged or able to explore or indulge in. And I thought it's definitely a tool that should be something that we know how to use. And especially I was thinking of, yeah, activism, burnout, and just self-care for a lot of these issues that are ongoing and at the time, like exploding. And it's just, I thought it was a interesting tool for the self to kind of, you're going to be dealing with those issues throughout your life, and we're doing these fights, and how do we take care of ourselves at the same time? So I kind of got down to kind of like sciencey nitty gritty of like what joy is kind of in terms of the body. So I looked at, a lot of research, and I went in with the idea of looking at the senses and how we could like kind of utilize sensory inputs to, surround ourselves with joy. And when we're having these hard times and we're, working constantly, how can we actively, use these senses to create joy in our everyday lives? So just starting with sound. What sound was interesting because I went in, I wanted it something to be something like tactile or like a musical instrument or something. And sound was actually one of the ones that there weren't a lot of studies for, sounds that are universally like cause joy, or some of these stimuli that I decided was what joy was, which I was looking at, things that are calm but also exciting. Kind of, it was an interesting balance of what I kind of used as my vocabulary for what joy was in terms of like your bodily response. So for this, I kind of decided that one that I kept seeing was chimes, and that resonated with me because a lot of times there were conflicting things. So some of these haven't been studied that much. There were some studies, but I'd love to see more studies about them, about joy in general, because sometimes that's not like thought of linked to science or more like serious subjects. So for me, I thought, that kind of vibe with my kind of joy orally. So I took like 3 different chimes, wind chimes, and then I dissected them and tried to create like my favorite sound out of those. And then it was also, the Residency was the first time I had worked with resin. So I just had these fun little resin things, and I decided it could be I think it's called the sail of the chime. But yeah, and again, with the like colors going throughout the Residency, I kind of was looking at, and I'll talk a little bit more about the colors and some of the ones more focused on it, but I kind of kept this, vocabulary colors that I tried to like follow this ratio that I determined for what I had found and what spoke to me as well.
Right, right. You did a lot of research into like color theory and like what emotions different colors evoke in others. I had no idea that you actually made all those little beads. That's really wonderful.
Yeah, and it makes it like massive. It hangs down super super tall, so it's really an interesting like combo of sort of tactile and interactive, but also focused on that sound aspect.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'd love to see how you could scale up or scale down this
Yeah.
type of thing. Like when something's super gigantic, for me anyways, I'm like, oh, what is that? But then something tiny is like also super. I don't know what it is about messing with scale that can create such a different experience. So
Yeah, I feel that.
yeah, let's run through some of your other works.
So I did go in with a lot of research, like you said. So I looked at, and I started with color before looking at any of the other senses, and I kind of looked at any studies that, determined if colors created, joy, what I was determining as joy. And also was looking for kind of a universality. And I found that, while there is some, first of all, it's like a relatively new field in terms of like hardcore studies of connecting like color to stimuli for joy. So I did find some that I kind of worked with throughout it, but then overall, what I found, like, which was kind of nice in a way, is that all these senses are connected when they go into your brain, especially scent, but color too, are connected to like the emotional part of your brain, and especially memories. So it's
Uh-huh.
really personal. So what I found, starting from this really scientific point of view, it's actually just really personal what like colors, sound, scents create joy for you. And it's like that personality. So giving people the knowledge of that, it's just really comes down to identifying what brings you joy and then kind of surrounding yourself with that. But I love this piece because I had no idea it would make it into my final like project run through, because it was one of the exercises you gave us, which was just a minute painting. Then there was like 3 minutes and 10 minutes. And so, again, while I was, really invested in the science of it and going from there, this was a great reminder of like taking all that stuff. And joy is also, you can't forget, for me, it's spontaneous and it's really freeing. So that part of joy really, I think, is expressed in this, and I thought was a great aspect to include as well.
So yeah, this piece, it's very immediate and very fun. And I think in one of the readings that I had found for you and shared with everybody on is it the aestheticsofjoy.com, where she actually does a lot of that research into like what makes
Yeah.
things joyful. And I love that she cites her sources so you can see the academic articles if you're interested in them too. But um, one of the ways that she defines joy is that it's this temporary feel, like this temporary emotion, where happiness is like a state of being and is long lasting. Like joy is it's quick, it comes, it goes, it's rejuvenating. And this painting like totally has all of that in that. But that's really, it was when you were talking before about color being linked to emotions and to memories, like it sounds like you're saying that it's like way more up to the individual. Like someone might have a completely different response to this because of their own personal associations with these colors. Was I understanding you right?
Yeah, definitely. And it was really, especially with scent, they said it's very connected to memory, but like color as well. When um, it's an interesting stimuli that like still, is, it's not, there are some ones that I saw were kind of more universal, kind of actually like, especially for calming, was like blue and green, and they thought maybe that was, evolutionary, like the colors you see in nature.
Mm-hmm.
But for the um like the ones that I saw generally also were still tied to, yeah, personal, or kind of your memories. And that was shown kind of in like culturally, I saw, because when I was trying to get a feel for if there was, one color that was joy, specifically, some colors meant the opposite in different cultures. So,
Sure.
if one was kind of like joy and one was death, or the same color in different cultures, I was trying to see, why that was. And so there's that cultural aspect that, we always perceive things based on our own backgrounds, but also there were some like colors that seemed to have more, of the same responses, like physically.
Mhm.
So like increasing your heart rate, or like um lowering your heart rate. So it was funny to kind of balance those, because to me joy was like, it's restorative, it's calm, but also exciting at the same time. So that's kind of sometimes conflicting ideas, but it's interesting to see that through colors and the just immediate bodily response.
Yeah. Oh, that's super interesting. And then um, you were really working to make inclusion part of this practice. So, how did that work into this piece?
Yeah, it was funny. So I included Braille in this piece originally. I was just playing around with kind of colors, but then tactile interaction. So I got that fabric, and then I wanted to include Braille just because I like doing that sometimes in my practice. So like one of the first pieces I showed at MIT conference at MIT had a lot of focus on Braille. So like there's an aspect for seeing and also an aspect for not, and including that in my art. So it was interesting because I originally just put it in because I wanted to make it more inclusive, and then in one of our critiques, one of the artists like asked, what's the reason, or how does it fit into your project. And then because I hadn't actually planned to look at what textures create joy, so that
Mhm.
actually opened up a whole nother section. And it was actually completely coincidence that the top one that I found was these glass pebbles. So I'd
Mhm.
already used them, and so then I went on to create a whole like big braille piece that was just the stones,
Mhm.
just going, but it kind of added a depth that I really like including braille and textures, because I think like normalizing it in art just puts it that step forward. So like there's the idea of visual art, but then if you have those different ways to include other populations and other people to enjoy your art in a different way, I don't know, I just like I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah, that's super important and a really interesting question, especially for, museum or gallery spaces where you're not supposed to touch the art. Like who can enjoy it? What kind of barrier is there to this work? So yeah, making touchable art does open it up to so many more people who wouldn't be able to engage with it otherwise. That's really interesting. I'd love to see where that goes more too. All
Yeah,
right.
it was strange using it like now, because there was no one to actually interact with it that way. But I did still like even though there wasn't anyone to actually feel it, I still thought it was important to normalize it in art. And also looking forward to sometime in the future where there's opportunity for people to actually interact with it that way. But
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're all looking forward to that time.
yeah, so this one was also, I kind of seized the moment to make it kind of an art photograph, but it really was just some of my materials. So for scent, I again like looked up, and there were more studies for scent than there were for color.
I'm doing an interview. You need to come back later. I'm not the adult in charge right now. I'm not the adult in charge right now. Sorry.
No problem. But so this one is mainly about scent, and I again looked up kind of, and there were more studies actually for scent, but scent I found like it was something like 75% is linked to kind of memories, but there also were more commonalities than even the colors I found. So it was kind of like some specific floral ones, some specific citrus scents, kind of having that like excitement and also like relaxation. So like in here, there's I also matched it to kind of the colors I was looking at too, but we have like lavender, we have lemon, rose, fresh cut grass, because that was a very specific one in a study in Australia. They found specifically like the scent of fresh cut grass, and I'm sure that's linked to memories, but maybe that's more common in a lot of communities. And then there's orange and jasmine. So I infused like acrylic paints with the scents, and I used it in some of my paintings, and like in conjunction with fabric, and it worked really well. Like I had to experiment to see how long the scents would last, but they lasted way longer than I expected. It was like maybe a month, 2 months. It was crazy.
So not only did you make like a scent that someone could like potentially be like, smell, smell, this is wonderful. You made like scented paint that you painted with.
Yeah.
That's wild. I like did not even connect that.
Yeah, I really liked that part, and I really want to continue that in the future. It was so interesting to me, and like this photo specifically was just kind of my hopes for the future. I like thinking about that community building of joy, and how there's this opportunity, if you make scented paints, maybe there could be a project where the community comes together and makes art together, and it's that scent, it's that color, kind of a really joyful moment. So that's also a dream I have for maybe a future project. But this was really exciting, and I like me and my partner were the ones who got to experience the scents, so it was really joyful in our house personally.
That's wonderful. Oh man, that's so cool. So, and this was since repackaged in a different form.
Yeah, at the bottoms, it's kind of hard to see, but they have the kind of like rose petal, orange peel, lemon peel. So it's just
Sure.
same colors. But I really was looking at I was kind of obsessed with like continuing the color ratio that I determined for myself was like the joyful color ratio. So like, more yellow, the excitement like yellow and orange, and then the calming green and purple, pink. So kind of matching those colors to the scents, and looking that way.
That's really wonderful. All right. I'm going to stop sharing because that was the last image that we had. And I wanted to commend you, praise you, compliment you. And I'm not exactly sure which verb is the right one right now. But anyways, I wanted to just say to you, I was really impressed with how you documented your work, because I know as an artist, if I'm doing something that's not just like a very clear standard, like painting, click, drawing, click, I have a much harder time documenting it in a way that's like effective and shows it off. And I felt that the way that you connected all of these themes through the visual aspect, and then you put at least at least some care into how am I going to make this look good when we can't smell it, right? Like, how will I still treat this as a piece of art?
Yeah, thanks. That's I have my I really want to do a video sometime of my DIY hack. Everyone I'm sure has trouble photographing their art. I put a chair up and white paper. But yeah, it was hard to like have that as such a big aspect to my work, the scent, and not be able to share it. But I think, how the work built on itself, and just how people, even if it was just sharing with the other artists, how people responded to it, it was really helpful to kind of learn about it. And I think it's still, no matter what aspect of the works you're getting, kind of hopefully imparts some of what like I found in my research, like that, joy is, physical, and hopefully you can identify your own joy to just, help people, restore themselves, help them, you know, stop this burnout when we're all working so hard for some common good.
Yeah. I think I think it was a wonderful project, and the sense is definitely, incorporating sensory experiences, at least, from my experience as a elementary teacher and a person with young children, when we can engage our full body in an experience, it's so much more memorable. I mean, that's why art installations like the Color Factory in New York, or, Yayoi Kusama's, I just said her name 100% wrong.
Yeah.
But her installations, they engage your full body, your full experience, and that's why they're so incredibly popular. But to use them not only for this moment of excitement, but also keeping in mind communities who really do need them. Activists work so hard nonstop. They're often engaged in, like, the reason they're activists is because there's something that's upsetting them. Like, they need these moments of respite and care. So how would you, given, like, if COVID did not exist and we were able to gather and share materials and be close with each other, what would your, like, vision for this experience be?
Yeah, I definitely am really like obsessed with that, creating art together. I think, you know, um probably it could be, surrounding works, kind of, whether including that scent and sound, but also just having, um, people do it themselves. Creating art is such a big, you know, um, experience, and it's building those memories. Maybe it's even, solidifying that connection to joy with these certain senses. Um, I think like those kind of interactive parts of art are really, um, really joyful, and kind of breaking those boundaries of, this is art, this is you viewing it when they're making it, and also coming together as a community, um, over art is really, really powerful also. So definitely, you know giant, um whatever canvases, and then the scented paint, and also, creating, I'd love to expand and do more musical instruments, because I think that in conjunction with, the scents would be really, really fun, also just joyful and exciting.
Yeah. Oh man, that sounds like a really wonderful experience. Um, Before we wrap up, what's one last thing that you want to make sure everybody knows?
Any notes? um that's a good question.
Super
uh
on the spot, sorry.
no, just, uh, yeah, take care of yourself, and if you can find, a scent or a sound, that's all around us, like music and everyday sense. Like, there's a lot of resources that you can surround yourself with, and also just finding art you like right now. I know it's kind of like, for me personally, it's a great time for art. There's more access, there's more community making that is happening over like internet. So I think there's a really good opportunity for community building right now when we need it, and when we can kind of change our ideas about what community is, or how these structures were in the past. I just think it's a great time to kind of break the cycles or boundaries that we've been held by before, and kind of get more connected.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so wonderful. So thank you everyone who's been watching. I highly recommend checking out Barbara's work. You can find her on Instagram, amongst other places, at Babard. Babard. Oh no, I spelled it wrong. I tried really hard. Hold on. I gotta fix it. There was an extra syllable.
Yeah, it's a mumble.
Here we go. Save at this link on Instagram. And yes. Thank you so much, Barbara, for joining us. And if you want to find more of her work, watch that video of her chimes. You can find it on our YouTube at The Cordial Eye, and I believe also on Barbara's. And yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Have a good night.